Hey guys, what's up? How y'all doing? I'm here to give you guys a talk on the new episode of RWBY Hyosetsu Teikoku or RWBY Ice Queendom on episode 5. Now this episode right here looks okay to me. I mean, nothing much really went crazy if anything, so by all means, let's just get this started. We have to it that RWBY gets waken up by one of our original characters, which I forgot her name. Please forgive me. What's her name again? Whoops. All I know is the person who manages to get Team RWBY into the dream. She wakes her up and RWBY explains the situation, And we have to it that Team Juniper shows up and asks what's going on, because they are very concerned about what's happening. And eventually we have to it that as the episode continues on, the rest of Team RWBY decides to go back and try to save Weiss right now because they ain't gonna leave their teammate behind, obvious from the get-go. That'd be messed up and sad if you just do that despite what happened, Eventually, they end up talking about we have to a Team RWBY decides to go in there, RWBY, Blake, and Yang all go in. They all enter Weiss's dream and try to figure out where to go to, And of course, things kind of gotten a little complicated along the way when it comes to the weaponry, but whatever. Weiss's mother is nothing more than a laughing alcoholic. Sadly, we've seen that in that dream in last episode, and we see it again in this one. I don't care much about that. Eventually, RWBY along with Blake and Yang ends up having to enter the city or fortress that RWBY describes it. Eventually they will later find their way in and go separate ways to figure out some hints and situations how to get through, But as the episode continues on in its own way, we have to it, of course, that Blake will later on find a shadow figure or shadow silhouette ends up entering some kind of water fountain entrance. And as for Yang, she, explored doing her own thing, which was never explicitly shown what she's doing. As for RWBY, she ends up finding a cage again, but this time with Pyrrha singing, And it might be related to Weiss herself about having a heart stone cold. We don't really know what the song could truly be about, but it might be related to Weiss. And we have to eventually RWBY will get a call from Yang, and she ends up going to Yang and Blake, and they end up having to enter the ice fountain, that has an entrance to some kind of dust or material or accessory shop whatsoever, Eventually we have to it that RWBY or Yang or someone like that will later on make a coin marker, and ends up making a checkpoint, where they can return and come back to. Eventually, we have to it that they do find the statue of Jacques Schnee, or something, because they realize that this might be a big impact on her life, that kind of thing. Eventually, as the situation goes on in its own way, RWBY and Yang will later on just surrender to play along for now, for Blake to walk around and maybe go unnoticed, Eventually, Yang and RWBY or RWBY and Yang will later on be escorted to their room, which seems like a prison cell, but it's not a prison at all, Eventually, RWBY will later on find a relic, which is a red knight relic, which apparently is related to a knight relic that Weiss has in her mind that's next to her as well. So pretty much this relic night whatsoever is important, as the original character of RWBY says, that allows him to go into the dream whatsoever, and tells him to keep that relic because that thing will help you out to possibly help to wake Weiss up, because those relics that she has right now, or that you see right now, is her way of trying to resist the nightmare, That's practically consuming her flesh and possibly her soul, her mind, we don't know. But one thing for sure, this nightmare is not being very nice right now on Weiss, etc. Eventually, they end up reuniting with Blake, and with rock, paper, scissors, Yang will be the loser of the match, sadly, and RWBY and Blake will later on explore around and find the other relic that can help them wake Weiss up. They will later on enter a room with a lot of chairs and thorns, above them, etc. But we have to it that Weiss will later on appear with her army and says, hey, I think you just don't get the idea that faunus are not allowed here. And I guess this is the negative Weiss kind of thing. I guess the negativity of Weiss, that's like a dark side or evil side whatsoever, that was shown in this episode and last episode, is to my confusion whatsoever. But all I know is it's just her mind, or her negative mind or psyche, because of her upbringing or her father. We don't really know. But all I know, but one thing for sure is that the nightmare is having an effect on Weiss, using her negativity whatsoever. So I don't know what's bound to happen next with our characters here and there, but I guess we're about to find out soon. So until then, people, I'll see you guys on the next video. I'm Alphazito. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time. All right. The next episode is called "Do You Have a Plan?" That's about it. Peace out. Bye bye.